What's up, guys? This is Martin Perdomo, the Elite Strategist, and you're listening to Latinos in Real Estate Investing podcast, and you're watching the Elite Strategist on YouTube. If not, if you're watching on Facebook. And today I want to share with you 3 strategies that you must master in order to be successful in anything you do, in your family life, in your finances, in your professional life. I'm going to give you 3 strategies that you have to master, and actually they're not that difficult. But before I share those strategies with you, I want to share an example with you. You know, I am a basketball guy. I grew up in New York City in the early 90s, late 80s, playing basketball in the streets. As a matter of fact, I have bad knees to this day. To now, I'm paying the price here in my 40s because I played so much basketball in the concrete jungle of New York City. And when you're playing basketball, there's 3 things that you must master. You have to master the 3 basics. And the 3 basics of basketball is, number 1, you have to dribble. You have to master the art of dribbling. Number 2, you have to pass. And number 3, you have to shoot, right? Those are the 3 basics. Success, like anything else, also has fundamentals that you have to master. And I'm going to share those with you. All right, I'm going to share those 3 fundamentals that you have to master in order to succeed in anything. So whatever it is that you want, if you want to be a better husband, a better wife, you want better relationships, your finances, you just want to grow and become a better person, whatever it is, you got to master these 3 things. And the first thing that I'm going to share with you is going to be, number 1, is pay attention to who you're spending time with. Who you're spending time with is extremely important. Let's say you want to earn $150,000 a year, yet you're spending time with people that are only earning $50,000 a year. You see, what happens is when you're hanging out with these people, their ideas, their thermostat, their capacity is at $50,000 a year. Therefore, you cannot, when you're spending time with them, their discussions are going to be around that income limit. And there's nothing wrong with those people making $50,000. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're making $50,000 a year, there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm suggesting is that if you want to make more and you want to do more, then you have to change who you're spending time with, right? Who you're spending time with is extremely important based on your goals. I'm very competitive by nature. By nature, I'm just extremely competitive. Growing up in New York City, I was a ball player, right? Street ball, and playing in with milk crates. We used to put the milk crates on the no parking signs, and I used to just be out there playing all day long. I used to go to the park, and when I used to go to the park, in Inwood Park in Dykeman, there would be 3 full courts, right? And it was always kind of like there was always levels to this thing. So when I would get there, there would be the sloppy players at the far right, all the way to the far right, the sloppy players, the clumsy players, right? That I know that if I played there, I would dominate, right? If me and my boys played there, we would dominate. Then you had the middle court, and these were the intermediate players, right? They could play, but they weren't balling in New York. And then you had on the far left, the ballers, right? Like the guys just running, jaying you, just going in all the way in. And I would always, because of my competitive nature, this was intuitively, by the way, guys. No one taught me this. This is just the way I was bred, right? And I would just go straight to where these guys, where the ballers were, grab the ball and say, "Yo, who's next? No one's next. I'm next." That was it, right? And the reason I would do that was because I intuitively knew. It wasn't because I was arrogant or anything like that. I just intuitively knew that if I was going to get better, I had to play with the best players. If I wanted to lower my skills, I would have gone to the far right where the sloppy players, beginners, right, slow players, I would play there. But if I want to get better, I'm playing with the best players. Same here, right, guys? If you wouldn't take advice, marriage advice from someone that's been divorced or married 6 times, right? That doesn't make sense, right? You're going to take marriage advice from someone that's been married for 20, 30 years. They've been through challenges. They've been through ups. They've been through downs, right? That's who you want to take advice from. So Who you spend time with is the number one thing you have to master. You got to start. You got to take an account. You got to. It's like balancing your checking account. You got to look at your money. You got to see what you got. You got to see what you can afford, and you got to do the same thing with your circle. You got to see who you're spending time with. What are they talking about? What do I want? Where do I want to go? And do I need to start putting myself in different circles so I can start getting better? Then I can start moving up a level and I can improve myself and get closer to my goal. So number one is who you're spending time with. Number two is who you're listening to, right? Which actually is correlates with what you're with who you're spending time with. Who you're listening to is extremely important, guys, right? Who you're listening to. So there's so much information. We live in the information age, and we live in an era that everyone is everyone's an expert online. And you come here on social media, you listen to dude, you got to be able, guys, you got to be able to discern that crap. You got to be able to discern who's the real deal. You got to be able to discern who's doing it. I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and this young guy comes out, and as you may or may not know, I'm a real estate investor. And this young guy comes out, and he's talking about his experience, and he's talking about the experience. He was very careful about what happened in 2008, and he's educating about what happened during the Great Recession of 2008. And I'm looking at this young man and I'm saying, man, listen, for starters, I know my discernment. I just knew because I lived it. I knew that what he was saying was incorrect. So as I lived it, not only did I live it, but I lived it as an investor. But I was able just to discern that by what he was saying, me listening to, right? So you have to pay close attention, and you have to stand guard at the door of your mind. I think it was Zig Ziglar that said you have to stand guard at the door of your mind. So number one is who you're spending time with. Number two is who you're listening to, right? If you're watching news all day and there's nothing good on the news ever, right? If you're watching news all day and all they're feeding to you is all this bad stuff happening around the world and inflation and this and that and the world's coming to an end, then what do you think that's going to create? That's going to create a feeling in your nervous system. That's going to create a feeling in your body that in turn, that feeling is going to lead you to take an action, positive or negative, and that action is going to lead to a result. See that? So what you heard created a thought, that thought created a feeling, that feeling created an action, and that action creates a result. Ultimately, an action creates a result. That's why it's important that you stand guard in the door of your mind. Number three, what you're watching, right? And who you're watching, what you let into your eyes. And I'm going to share two different scenarios here. The first story I'm going to share with you was, I'm going to say about a year ago or so. I was in my car with my wife and my daughter, and I think one of my sons. I don't remember where we were going, but we were traveling. We were in the state of Pennsylvania. We were traveling somewhere, and we were coming up to like traffic. It was slowing down, and I can see at a distance, I can see a yellow bus. I want you to picture a yellow school bus, and cars were kind of slowing down. There was traffic, right? And we were going around. I could hear the ambulance. I could hear the cops coming. I could hear all the commotion. And when I got up to it, I saw, and it's vivid in my brain. It's still vivid in my brain. I saw this guy. I saw this bike, this motorcycle that was on, like, you could tell that the guy wiped out. The motorcycle was on the street, and the guy was under the tire. Like his chest was under the tire of the bus. Man, that picture is just kind of ingrained in my brain. And we all looked at that and we were in shock. And I just thought about those people I know that ride bikes, right? Right. So what you're watching, you can't unsee what you unsee. That was traumatizing. This is the reason why war veterans come back with PTSD, because of all the stuff that they see, right? Now the other story is the same flip side to that. I was at a convention, at a mastermind event, with my mastermind event, and it was a convention, and we turned it into a big thing. And there was a bunch of very wealthy people in the room, and we had a guest, a company that came in virtually, and they were talking about the good work that they're doing. And the good work that they're doing is that they're saving kids from, they're taking kids from Ukraine because they're in danger, kids from Ukraine, and they're saving them so that they can put them in the proper orphanage. And because there's a lot of trafficking right now, and there's a lot of that stuff with kids, and these bad people are taking these kids and using them as sex slaves, and they're moving them. And this group, this organization, was literally going into the war zone and taking these orphans and moving them to Poland and saving them. And in a matter of a couple of hours, right, in this room, they were saying that they needed some money. They were raising money. They needed buses. They needed some equipment. We raised a total of $300,000 in a matter of a few hours, right? Based on the pictures that they showed us, based on what they showed us, the work that we're doing. So you see, what you see has an impact on you. So it's important that you then guard at the door of your mind, protect your mind from what you see, from who you're listening to, and who you're spending time with. Master those three things. Audit your circle. Check who you're spending time with, right? Check who you're listening to, right? Are you listening to naysayers? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you listening to, if you're a single person, or you're a single woman, or you're a single guy, and you're listening to podcasts that are supposed to help you get into a relationship, or teach you about men, or teach you about women, and the host himself is a person that's been divorced 100 times, and I'm being facetious, right? But this is a person that's been divorced a bunch of times, or this is a kid that is not in a relationship. How do you expect them to teach you about something that they don't possess, right? So have discernment, right? Pay attention, stand guard at the door of your mind. Pay attention to who you're spending time with, who you're listening to, and what you're watching. Guys, those are the three things you need to master in order to be successful at anything. Your circle, who you're watching, what you're watching, and who you're listening to. Those three things, guys. Take a close audit of those three things. I assure you that if you start hanging out with CEOs, eventually you're going to want to be a CEO. If you got beautiful long hair, beautiful long dreads, and you're hanging out in a barbershop every single day, eventually you're going to want to get a haircut, right? It's basically that simple. I truly appreciate you guys watching. I truly appreciate you guys listening. I hope you guys got value from this. Drop me a like, drop me a comment. Tell me what you think. Let's talk about this. Give me your thoughts. Let's engage on it. Tell me what else you think we can add to this, or what we can take away. Really appreciate you guys watching. I really appreciate you guys listening. And you're watching and listening to the Elite Strategist on Latinos in Real Estate Investing podcast. Love you guys. Peace out.